others are fast-moving.
Unlike other big rallies,
Cockpit earlier at about 7 a.m. A group from the Coast Guard.
Welcome to #PHVote 2013.
Today on Rappler, President Aquino says he saw two versions of the Napoles list that don't match.
Ang dapat gumagawa ng PDNA talaga, national government.
Tacloban Mayor Alfred Romualdez blames the national government for the delay in post-Haiyan rehabilitation. And Islamist militant group Boko Haram releases a new video of Nigerian schoolgirls. Hello, I'm Chai Hofilenia. Welcome to Rappler, your social news network. President Benigno Aquino admits he has seen two versions of the controversial list of lawmakers allegedly involved in the pork barrel scam. But Aquino says the two lists, supposedly from scam mastermind Jaene Zaplan, don't match. The pork barrel scam is seen as the biggest corruption scandal in recent Philippine history. The lawmakers on the lists allegedly work with Napoles in channeling public funds to fake non-governmental organizations for hefty kickbacks. Aquino says the first list was sent directly to him before Napoles decided to speak with Justice Secretary Laila de Lima. He did not say who gave him the list. Aquino says the second list came from de Lima after Napoles decided to tell all she knew about the scam. But the president also says former Senator Ping Lacson briefed him about the third list. Aquino says he has yet to see it, but based on Lacson's brief account, the list is, quote, not consistent already with the other two. De Lima earlier said the Justice Department will vet the list to make sure the names are backed by evidence. The Justice Secretary promises not to sanitize the list, saying she prefers releasing it at the proper time. Aquino supports De Lima, saying the contradictions alone are enough reason to keep the list confidential for now. The Senate Blue Ribbon Committee orders Justice Secretary Laila de Lima to present the so-called Napoles list. Committee head chair Senator T.G. Gingona says he signed a subpoena for de Lima to release the list of lawmakers Napoles implicated in the scam. Gingona promises to release the list once de Lima submits it to the Senate. De Lima responds saying, since it's a subpoena, I will comply. Gingona earlier said he would wait for de Lima to evaluate Napoles' testimony. But he says he decided to issue the subpoena in the spirit of transparency. Gingona also says former Senator Ping Lacson agreed to submit his own copy of the Napoles list to his committee. The annual Balikatan exercises between the Philippines and United States are underway. With the Philippines locked in a territorial dispute with China, this year's war games serve as the US's ironclad commitment to train and defend its ally against attacks. Carmela Fonbuena reports.
War games between the Philippines and the U.S. make international headlines after U.S. President Barack Obama spoke in front of U.S. and Filipino troops standing shoulder to shoulder.
Words, our commitment to defend the Philippines is ironclad. And the United States will keep that commitment because allies never stand alone.
Bound by the Mutual Defense Treaty, the two militaries hold annual Balikatan exercises to make sure they'll know how to fight together. It is no coincidence games this year focus on maritime security exercises because the new threat is China. Conducted on Philippine beaches facing the disputed waters, it aims to synchronize the Philippines and the U.S. navies.
The importance of this is the combined operation, which might come later on, which during invasion, war, or rebellion, at least we are ready for that. And at least we can, the interoperability is very helpful to the troops.
The Americans say training together is a learning experience between forces with similar training techniques. It's the weather they find to be a challenge.
I'll tell you what, one of the biggest things is not to take the Pacific weather for granted. We're in Hawaii, and so we're also a Pacific island. but just the exposure to heat has been the #1 training lesson.
Critics question the constitutionality and the sociological impact of the presence of U.S. troops in the Philippines.
We are not going to create any new bases. We serve at the pleasure of the Philippine government, and we work in numbers that are acceptable to the Philippine people as a whole and what the government allows.
With the Philippine military one of the weakest in Asia, the Aquino government says the Philippines needs the U.S. to face the new threats. And when you're the little kid on the block, Big Brother watching your back may be the best way to stand up to the bully. Carmela Fonbuena, Rappler, Cavite.
Former Navy Chief Alexander Pama takes over as the new head of the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, or NDRMC. He will replace retired Army General Eduardo del Rosario. He resigned on April 24 because of health reasons. Pama will be tasked to rescue the reputation of the agency, which came under fire for its slow response at the height of Typhoon Yolanda, or Haiyan. Office of Civil Defense spokesman Major Ray Balido says PAMA will likely continue projects to help local governments respond better during disasters. Among all the areas devastated by Haiyan, Tacloban City remains the most affected. 6 months after the typhoon, Tacloban Mayor Alfred Romualdez says the economic powerhouse of Eastern Visayas is still in shambles. He says Tacloban's local government finished its rehabilitation plan as early as January 2014, but with no final master plan from the national government, follow-through is at a standstill.
But nagkaka-problema lang kami dyan because the national government, like for example, ang airport, hindi naman, that's not under the jurisdiction of the local government. So the long-range midterm plan and immediate plans of the airport, that's under the DOTC. So that's not, in fact, even our port is under PPA, under the DOTC yan. So the main highways is under DPWH. Ang dapat gumagawa ng PDNA talaga, national government.
Romualdez blames bureaucracy for the delays.
Red tape. I think the red tape there. There's a certain standard that has to be established. Ang problema sa red tape na yan, nagka-problema kami because it's like a passport. You just declare it as a temporary and anything goes. Eh, hindi naman pwedeng anything goes because taong nakatira dyan eh. We have to safeguard these people.
Romualdez calls on cabinet departments to be responsible and accountable for their actions.
You cannot say na, well, you know, the money went here, the money went, that's your responsibility. Who released the money? It's your department, you release that money, you should know. And it's up to you also to have your long-range plan, your master plan there in your department, what you're doing according to the policy of the president. That's your responsibility there. So the buck should stop there.
2 officials from the Agriculture Department resign less than a week after former Senator Francis Pangilinan is appointed Presidential Assistant for Agriculture. Administrators Euclides Forbes of the Philippine Coconut Authority, or PCA, and Orlan Calayag of the National Food Authority, or NFA, submitted their courtesy resignation letters to President Aquino. The PCA and NFA are 2 of the 4 agencies Pangilinan will oversee. He took his oath on May 6 with marching orders to clean up the agricultural agencies linked to irregularities. Calayag faces a plunder complaint for his alleged involvement in the importation of overpriced rice from Vietnam. Forbes was criticized for his agency's slow pace in containing the coconut scale insect outbreak in Region 4A. Islamist militant group Boko Haram releases a new video claiming to show the Nigerian schoolgirls abducted a month ago. In the video obtained by Agence France Presse, group leader Abubakar Shekau says the teenagers converted to Islam and would not be released until the group's militant prisoners are freed. The footage shows about 130 girls in Muslim dress praying in an undisclosed rural location. Nigeria's government is under fire for its lack of immediate response following the kidnapping of 276 girls from the northeastern town of Chibok in Borno State. Some 223 are are still missing. Let's now look at Rappler's Wrap for today, a list of the 10 most important events around the world you shouldn't miss. At number 4, ASEAN foreign ministers raised serious concerns about China's oil drilling operations in the disputed West Philippine Sea or South China Sea. They also urged the parties involved not to resort to threat or force to resolve their differences. The ministers were referring to China and Vietnam clashing over the Paracel Islands. They emphasized the need to quickly work towards an early conclusion of the Code of Conduct in the South China Sea. At number 9, the Washington Post reports Pope Francis, known to be a liberal and an advocate of inclusion and forgiveness, remains locked in, quote, an epic battle with the oldest enemy of God and creation, the devil. Citing theologians and Vatican insiders, the Washington Post says the Pope dwells extensively on Satan in his sermons and speeches, much more compared to his predecessors. Progressive theologians say Francis is opening the door to superstition, a step back from allegorical references to evil. But exorcists say the new Pope has become their champion in the face of modern skepticism. And at number 10, tennis stars will be in Manila to compete in the first ever International Premier Tennis League. Andy Murray of Great Britain will lead Team Manila. Novak Djokovic, Rafael Nadal, Serena Williams, Pete Sampras, and Andre Agassi will play for any of the 4 teams competing in the first leg of the tourney from November 28 to 30. The matches will be held in either the Mall of Asia Arena or Smart Araneta Coliseum. For the full top 10, visit Rappler.com's The Wrap. First social media post of the day, the internet exploded when bearded diva Conchita Wurst of Austria won Europe's biggest singing contest, Eurovision 2014, on Sunday. Praises and greetings for Conchita poured in on Twitter, highlighting the relevance of Conchita's triumph as representative of the LGBTQ community in the wake of Russia's recent laws against homosexuality. British comedian Russell Brand showed his support for Conchita by tweeting a photo of himself in a green dress. Every story on Rappler has a mood meter which gives you 8 emotions to choose from. Click on how you feel and your vote comes down to the mood navigator in the middle of the page. It crowdsources the mood of the day. It also gives you the top 10 stories with the most clicks. Let's take a look at today's top stories. Let's begin with the biggest circle right here in the middle. This is Travel, Why I Think the Philippines is Southeast Asia's Next Backpacking Paradise. This is a story by blogger Nathan Allen. He wrote about his experiences traveling in the Philippines and the food that he's tried in different parts of the country. This story got 87% happy, 5% inspired, 3% annoyed, only 3% angry, and a smaller percentage, 2% afraid. Let's look at another story. This is the second biggest green color on our mood navigator. This is Pugad Baboy, Lies and Surveys. This is actually a commentary on Mar Rojas when he said that he doesn't really pay attention to surveys. This particular comic strip got 64% happy, 27% amused, 5% angry, 2% inspired, 2% don't care. Let's look for another color, a different color, not green this time. And this is the red right here. This is 5 dead in Quezon City motorbike shooting spree. 5 people were killed by 2 people on board a motorbike. They just shot people at random. This got 74% angry, 17% afraid, 2% don't care, 2% annoyed, 2% sad, 2% happy, which is very strange, and only 1% amused. All contributing to the mood of the day. Today, most people are happy. That's Rappler's newscast for today, Monday, May 12, 2014. Visit Rappler.com and watch our newscast Monday to Friday. Tell us how you feel on our mood meter and help us crowdsource the mood of the day. I'm Chai Hofelenia. As we say at Rappler, tomorrow begins today. We'll leave you with the story of Ken, a survivor of Super Typhoon Haiyan, struggling to lift his family from the despair of the disaster's aftermath. This is a story by ILO and JP Lopez.
Bumupa na yung ulan. Hindi namin isip akalain na ganito na yung nasa paligid namin, yung bahay namin titignan ko sana pagtingin ko may malaking barko na. Yung takot na parang alam mo parang nangihina ka dahil yung paligid sobrang sira na lahat. Kasi hindi mo alam kung paano magsisimula. Araw-araw ako naglalakad ako ng mahigit 2 kilometro. Hanggang sa naipon na yung pera namin, umabot na ng 90,000. Nagdesisyon kami bumili ng tricycle. Ayun yung gamit ko, yung tricycle. Yun ang nakakatulong sa amin sa araw-araw nga pangkain. Doon namin kinukuha. Yung tulong, hindi mo alam, baka bukas, mamaya, o sunod na mga araw, wala na. Dapat mag-isip din kami ng plano kung paano kayo mabubuhay sa araw-araw. Yung pag makaisip ka ng plano kung paano ka mabuhay, paano ka makahanap ng mga kain, pwede pa yan pang habang